Good morning. All eyes are on the Occupier. Like its global counterparts, London's occupational market gained momentum over 2021. Yet progress was staccato for two reasons. First, variants, including Omicron, saw some occupiers temporarily apply the brakes on projects. Second, many occupiers are still trying to figure out their future real estate needs, particularly in the absence of any true signals from their workplace over the last year. This leads to some key questions for 2022. When do occupier deliberations start to evolve into firm action? What will shape requirements? And what does this mean for your assets and leases? We should know much more as the year progresses, but allow Laura, Ellie and I to get the ball rolling. Business leaders are facing a minefield of challenges beyond the pandemic. Tensions around the labour market, macroeconomics, geopolitics, supply chains, purpose versus profit, and of course the ESG agenda are all in play and making life difficult. Business sentiment surveys reveal three dominant frontiers that will capture increasing attention over the next year. Each has a clear real estate dimension, each will bring the form and function of the office into sharper focus, and each will advance our long-standing belief that real estate is a strategic consideration for business leaders. Let's take each briefly in turn. The first challenge is for organisations to respond to the new world of work. There's no doubt that the pandemic has changed actual and anticipated work styles for many office workers. Hybrid working, which combines the formal office with other workplace settings, is emerging as a potential response. The extraordinary strength of the labour market will push this agenda further on. However, delivering hybrid is far from easy. There will be no one-size-fits-all response, and we expect many occupiers to dial back their ambitions and adopt an office-first position. This will have a positive effect on future occupier requirements and footprints. One reason for this is our second frontier, the need for organisations to strengthen corporate culture and connection. Business expectations for revenue and headcount growth are now well beyond pre-pandemic levels. In fact, they're at a 7-year high. Achieving growth will require the onboarding of new staff and the winning of new business. And whilst not impossible in a virtual world, the office environment is the most efficient and effective means to deliver both. Finally, as we outlined in Your Space, the sustainability agenda will continue to shape occupier behaviour. As Ellie will show, business ambitions are now being met with greater action. This is having real influence on the process and outcome of the real estate decision. The pace will quicken further still in 2022. No business leader is going to want to be found wanting. The stakes are just too high, particularly with regulation looming. So 2022 sees the rubber hit the road in London's occupational market. The three frontiers I have outlined signal progressive intent from occupiers. They will be much busier devising and, crucially, implementing plans. This is brilliant news, but be mindful, occupiers will have different and divergent needs. This will require a new level of customer understanding and engagement, which is exactly where Ellie comes in. Ellie, over to you.
Thank you, Lee. A new world of work is emerging. The economy is recovering, furlough has finished, and the war for talent has resumed. So what does this mean for occupational demand? Responding to Lee's three frontiers, I will cover the areas that we believe are having the greatest impact on our clients' real estate decisions. Number 1, flexible working models. Number 2, landlord partnerships. And number 3, the influence of ESG. As Lee has mentioned, whilst many have adopted some form of flexible working, it is clear that there is no uniform approach. We are seeing differences between sectors, but also within sectors. As businesses compete for talent, they need to offer an inspiring office with a choice of working environment and a competitive flexible working model. The challenges that our clients face, however, is that business leaders need to make long-term commitments based on potentially short-term behaviour. A high-growth tech client of ours has found it incredibly difficult to determine their spatial requirement, having initially increased and then subsequently decreased their size. Getting the brief right is difficult, and they are not alone. We have had numerous clients revise their flexible working policies to offer significantly more flexibility. In a year's time, however, will these policies still stand? Will more staff wish to spend a greater portion of the week in the office as we learn to live with COVID? So, a question to our landlord clients. How can landlords help with the challenges that flexible working poses to occupiers? This leads me into my next section, landlord partnerships. Answer to their needs for flexibility, amenity-rich buildings with a choice of working environment, and options to grow and flex outside of lease events and core space takes. This will enable occupiers to feel more confident heading into longer-term commitments. Critical when staff behaviour is still so unpredictable. The tenants also focus on that long-term relationship. The reputation of the landlord to deliver a hospitality level of service for the duration of the lease is key. Our clients wish to have meaningful and positive interaction with their service provider throughout their occupation, and not just when a management issue arises or when a lease event occurs. And what better way to curate and grow this relationship than by utilising smart building technology and building apps to augment those regular interactions. By using this technology, occupiers can fully understand their usage of the space, manage energy consumption, and engage in a community created by the landlord. A media client of ours recently told me their staff are increasingly demanding better environmental performance from their employer. Landlords are uniquely placed to help companies accurately monitor their own actions and therefore achieve their green initiatives. This relationship can then come full circle with occupiers sharing their energy usage data. This will assist landlords with their own analysis on the energy performance of their assets and the reduction of carbon emissions, which is where the increasing influence of ESG comes into play. Whilst ESG is now front and centre of building design, many occupiers have been behind the curve until recently, but we are starting to see an awakening. The influence of ESG on our clients' real estate decisions is rising up the agenda and is no longer the preserve of large corporates. Accreditations do play a role in the shortlisting of buildings, but this is what our clients really want to know. How and why has the building achieved this accreditation? What is the data that sits behind this? And how will a move to a particular building assist them in achieving their wider CSR objectives? They need landlords to answer these questions more thoroughly, but in a way that is relevant to occupiers. Our clients can then answer to their own investors and staff in turn. So in summary, the role that a landlord plays in today's world has become multifaceted. Occupiers are looking for landlords to deliver best-in-class sustainable buildings, to be an educator on real estate sustainability, to embrace flexibility, to engage with technology and data, and most importantly, to truly partner with them. It's a big ask, so what's in it for the landlords? Well, we all know that there is real value in a relationship that stands the test of time, as Laura will go on to discuss further now.
Thank you, Ellie. I'm going to talk to you about the opportunity that sustainability provides existing buildings. So much of the conversation is about new developments, but there are 3 key questions I would like to share with you. 1. What does it mean for you as owners with existing buildings, occupations and leases? 2. How can we address the sustainability agenda in these? And 3. How might it influence asset management strategies? There are a huge number of buildings with lease breaks or expiries over the next 5 years. If an occupier's existing building can otherwise fulfil their requirements, surely the most sustainable thing would be for them to stay put. After all, in our daily lives, we are encouraged to reuse, to recycle and to repurpose things. So owners need to develop a strong sell for the regear opportunity, and we can help you. To answer my questions, you'll have heard a lot about the potential changes to the MEES regulations. Any changes will be particularly relevant to older buildings with existing tenancies. There's a growing feeling that perhaps it is all a storm in a teacup. As things stand, there is a long list of exemptions and the fines don't appear significant. It is very possible that the local authorities will be given more powers and funding to ramp up the enforcement side of things. But this is perhaps missing the point. It feels to us that there is a far greater incentive for owners to proactively and ambitiously address sustainability issues in their older assets. As we've heard this morning, the demands of the owner's corporate targets, the shifting of occupiers' expectations, and from this, the implications for investment value are all pressing reasons why owners should be taking a proactive approach in this area. Improvement works recommended in an EPC report will form part of an owner's plan, but we think the aim should be to go further. Owners should understand the broader opportunity for improvements, involving not just an occupier's demise space, but also the wider opportunity to create or improve third spaces within the building too. Lease events can then be overlaid to develop an asset management strategy. Finding the opportunity for value enhancements will then support the inevitable CapEx. If an owner is proactive and knows what is required for them and their building, it will put them in a stronger position for the regear discussions that follow. Move options will undoubtedly talk a big game and present themselves as the superior option. We expect going forwards that if owners do not have a clear, proactive and persuasive strategy addressing ESG in their existing buildings, the occupier will vacate. We all know the income void is the enemy for asset performance. The institutional lease creates a number of barriers to an owner wanting to make energy efficiency improvements to a building. With this in mind, partnering with existing customers on regearing also offers an opportunity to address practical issues in the lease, which will be necessary to support plans around the building operation and data sharing. We know many owners are trying to add green lease clauses, but it seems with mixed success. Often, they're struck out by occupiers when they're first introduced at the legal stage because of the potential ramifications of non-compliance. Owners need to have a clear, positive and powerful business case for the occupier. It needs to be addressed earlier in the negotiation process. It should be considered whether they can sit in a side agreement to encourage take-up. Our challenge to owners is for you to drive your own agendas and respond to the market rather than be led by government regulations. I'd like to leave you with 3 key messages. 1. Sustainability is here to stay, and it will have greater power in the decision-making process. 2. Don't pass the burden on to new schemes when it could be more sustainable for an occupier to stay put. And 3. Protect value in your asset by being proactive and linking sustainability initiatives to an asset management strategy. This is our opportunity to make a difference.